Welcome to the S.E.M podcast. Jack and Zach back again tonight, and we are joined by the famous John Coon. John, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I am well. Thank you for asking. What part of the world are you calling from?
Gilbert, Arizona.
Gilbert. Heard of it before.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, we talked previously. You've been listening to the podcast. We'll talk pre-mission, then post-mission, and then go through your areas, your companions, and favorite stories. So, John, I'm going to hand the time over to you.
Okay. Sounds good. Typical, typical story or, common story. Grew up in the church, parents, very strong and active in the church. My dad went on a mission. He went to Pennsylvania. I've got two older brothers. The oldest went to Mexico City. My second oldest brother went to Argentina, and I was the next one to go. I guess I'm kind of, am I going ahead of myself here? I never, I never really questioned about going on a mission. All my friends went on a mission, so it was kind of the thing to do. That I knew I had to do. And seeing return missionaries come home and seeing the change that it's made in them and who they were, like I wanted to be a part of that. Especially my dad and brothers, like they came back, a lot different, a lot more mature. And so I knew it was the right thing to do. After high school, put in my papers, got the call, and, just like most anyone else, pronounced it Edinburgh, and just super pumped. Didn't know exactly where Scotland was, and so I had to pull up the map and locate it, and rushed and applied for a passport, and that was kind of stressful, but it came in time. My family, my parents took me to the airport, and I hate goodbyes, and so I made it real quick and said, "See you in 2 years," and headed off. And first flew to Atlanta. That is where I met up with, I think it was like 6 other elders. It was Elder Grantham, Elder Talbot, Elder, gosh, now I'm going to forget his name. I should have written it down. I think that was it from stateside. But I actually have a picture. Actually, I forgot to pull that out of my box. It has, I got a picture of all of the, actually, if we pause for 1 second, I have a picture of all the teachers and all the companions in the MTC. Should be right here. 1 second. All right, so continue. So here is a picture of my MTC group. You can see that okay. Mm-hmm. So I know that's Elder Talbot, Grantham, myself. This is Elder Ozar. This is Elder Joyner. Elder Yates, he's in there. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago. And then there's President Sorensen and Wigglesworth. Any of you guys have them?
No, we're old.
Nope. Okay. And I don't know if you recognize any of these teachers.
I see Sister Kenny in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
patty cakes.
Yeah.
That's right.
So you got Brother Gallagher, Sister Kenny, Brother Pooley, Rushworth, Goebel, McMorrin, Pyle, Murphy, Spencer, and Pattendon. And they were all super great. Like when they like taught us, it was amazing. Like I felt so inadequate listening to them teach and instruct us. And so, and yeah, I remember this one time I forget what day, but yeah, we were there for like 14 days, and we went street contacting, and we were walking through this park, and these, I guess in England, instead of Neds, they call them chavs.
Right.
These punk kids like came up to us and were taunting us, and Elder Ozard, he's from England. He man, he got very upset, and he like charged them, and he was like ready to throw down with them. And so me and some other companions, or elders, we tried to calm him down. And anyway, he was fired up, but such a good dude. He was kind of known as the magic man. He had all these magic tricks up his sleeves. But really, really great dude.
He
So
knew how to deal with them. It sounds like that's
yeah,
pretty funny.
yeah, right. My companion was gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Elder Joyner. Not Elder Joyner. Oh man, did I write his name down? Jolliffe. Jolliffe was his name. Elder Jolliffe. He was from England. Really nice dude. He was kind of suffering from homesickness, but he overcame that. Actually, we rode each other probably 6 months after the mission, and he was doing great. He was solid. But yeah, in the MTC, there was a point where I'm sure this is a common thing. Like growing up, you kind of rely more on your parents' testimony. And I kind of felt like, man, if I'm going to do this for 2 years, asking people to commit and make changes and, change their lives, like I've got to have, I felt like I had to have a firmer testimony conversion, of the church. And so, there was a point where I received an answer, to my prayers that I can never deny. Like I think back at it, and it was so powerful and amazing. And since then, whenever spiritual experiences happen, I get a little taste or reminder of that experience, that I had back then. And so since then, with that experience, I was fully 100% committed and giving my all, to the mission and just to our Heavenly Father.
That's awesome. What was the time frame that you got to the MTC, John?
Oh, I'm sorry. That was December 28th, 2007 through December 15th. Well, yeah, I ended my mission December 15th, 2009. So I only spent one Christmas on the mission.
Interesting.
You cheated.
Yeah.
And you went out from Arizona too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So skip over now. Take us to getting home, but just before Christmas, and what you've been up to since.
Yeah. So after the mission, man, I was hungry to find a wife. My friend set me up on a blind date 2 days later, and
You said 2 days?
2 days later,
Oh my gosh!
I went on a blind date,
and it was awkward and everything.
Yeah, I'm sure I was super awkward. I remember my second date, which wasn't long after that, with someone else. My dad, my parents have horses, and my dad convinced me to take this girl on a horseback ride. and put on a cowboy hat with a holster and revolver. And anyway, I was, I'm sure I was pretty weird after the mission.
Regular John Wayne.
Impressive.
Yeah, right.
Love it.
But so I eventually, apparently I didn't get enough of door knocking on the mission. I got into door-to-door sales in the pest control industry. So I did that for about 5 years. And I wanted to go into the medical field, like be a nurse anesthetist. I didn't want to deal with people. My dad was a businessman, like he owned a business, and I just didn't like how stressful he was and dealing with people's drama and stuff. And so never wanted to go into business. And so I wanted to do anesthesia and put people to sleep and monitor them that way and not have to deal with their drama. But the door knocking, the pest control, door-to-door sales was going good, and decided to, and I did that in Houston for those years. And so finally came to a point when I was 20, when I was 26, about to turn 27, I met my wife. We met in September of 2015. I proposed to her 4 weeks later, October 10th, and then we got married January 2nd. So pretty quick engagement. And
if you know, you know.
I guess I guess the mission taught me something to when you find someone baptize someone quick. I don't know. I'm just kidding. But no, yeah. So I started, me and my cousin, he's my business partner. We started a pest control company here in Arizona. We're only in Arizona. And it's been going great. Been 7 years now. And my wife and I, we both have 2 kids with 1 on the way. We're due in July.
That's awesome. Do you know what the gender is of that
Yeah,
child?
it's a girl. Yeah.
Oh,
So we have
that's fun.
our oldest, he's 5, he's a boy, and then 4-year-old girl, and then girl in July.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Great.
So, but yeah, that pretty much wraps up post mission stuff. So I'll dive into the mission, I guess, into going into the MTC. Actually, at the MTC, that's where I met Joe McLean, who you've had on, and he's also an Arizona boy.
Yeah.
And his parents came and picked him up, and so we were heading to the temple, and that's where we met him, and just had a quick talk with him, and got me all pumped up. Yeah. And then, so yeah, I went to the MTC, or not, sorry, the mission home, and I mean, I have such a terrible memory. The few things that I remember about the mission home is just, yeah, we had dinner, and then we slept in we slept upstairs. The next morning, a bunch of missionaries got together in that meeting room, and President Fredericks, he gave a speech, and then assigned us to our trainers, and I was assigned to Elder Joseph Jensen and Andrew Harrison. You heard, you know Elder Jensen?
I do, yeah. And you said Andrew was Andrew Harrison too?
Yeah.
So you guys were in a trio?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Also, I do remember. So you've also have had James McCabe on here.
Yeah.
He's also from Gilbert. We keep in touch, and we went to the same high school. And he actually left me a really nice jacket, and I wore that the whole mission. It was so nice. It was so nice of him. I was like, "What is there a catch?" Like, but it was just so nice of him, generous of him to leave me this really nice jacket, brand new.
You know, the funny thing about that, John, is that's the second time on our podcast that we've heard of an Arizona boy helping out another Arizona boy, when the reality is you came out probably with a jacket that was severely insufficient, and
Right.
you got the right one from someone who had
Yes.
used it the right way. So that's
Exactly.
pretty good.
Exactly. No, that's how I see it too. And yeah, so grateful he did that. Yeah, he's a stud.
Love it.
Okay, so Elder Jensen, he actually, so he's from Denmark. He actually extended his mission 4 weeks.
Oh, wow.
I guess he was going to have passport issues, or not passport.
Visa.
What am I trying to say? Visa issues like Americans would have. But yeah, he extended his mission 4 weeks. So I felt very lucky, and man, he was amazing. I looked up to him so much. He was so knowledgeable. I could tell all the leaders looked up to him. And he was incredible. I was blown away with his knowledge and his experience. I wanted to be like him. Elder Harrison, he was great too. He was amazing. I just felt like I related to Elder Jensen, a lot more. Unfortunately, so one of the MTC elders, or one of the elders that came out with me, he ended up going home. Guess he just got homesick. And so Elder Jensen had to go and fill his spot.
Interesting.
So only was with him for 2 weeks, but I learned so much from him in those 2 weeks.
What area did you start in?
Dundee Lift 2.
Oh, nice.
Which I think you've served around there, right?
Yeah, I was in Montrose. So yeah, I spent there was one snowy day where we went to the lift ward because we stayed in Arbroath, and going to the lift ward was almost the same distance as going to the Montrose ward. And yeah, great ward. Amazing people there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I'll list off some of the members that I want to shout out, because yeah, it was such an amazing ward. I was there for 7.5 months.
Holy cow! Wow.
Yeah, so spent a lot of time there, but it was great. Like the members, especially the youth, were amazing.
Yeah.
And we had a car, which was nice. And Elder Harrison, he was a terrible driver. He was. So he let me drive, and I can be a terrible driver too. But I think I'm also a smart driver. So but there was some adjusting to driving on the wrong side of the road. Okay.
No way. Are you sure? My gosh. We all experienced that drove on the other side of the road over there.
Yeah. There was this one time where it was probably like day 2 of driving, or maybe day 1, and I'm coming up on this red light, and you're on the left side, right? And I see this empty lane to the red light. I'm like, what are all these cars doing?
Oh,
so
no.
I pull over to the right side, and Elder Harrison is freaking out. He flips out, and I'm just in it, and then it clicks. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm on the wrong side of the road. So I hit slam on the brakes, popped it in reverse, Like, we're hiding our badges. We don't want people to see who we are. Just pop it in reverse, and man, I took his breath away. Um, but
It's an easy
it
mistake
was,
to make.
yeah, it is. I mean, they should probably, I don't know, take us, maybe in the MTC, do some driving training before,
It's probably not a bad idea.
right?
We've got a big parking lot at the stake center there in Preston.
Yeah,
Just give us a car and let us figure it out.
yeah. There was this one time. So I got me and Andrew Harrison. We got along great. There were times, like as I was reading my journal, I guess there were times we were getting annoyed at each other, and he would show his like frustration or whatever, but he wouldn't like talk to me or answer any of my questions.
Gee.
But this one time, and most of it was like while driving. And anyway, this one point, we were looking for a parking space, and I got really good at parallel parking. And anyway, so we passed by this spot, and Elder Harrison says, "There's a spot right there. There's a spot right there." And I'm like, "No, that's too small. That's too small." And like he's like, "No, we can fit. We can fit. Like, let's try them." All right, whatever. So he gets out, and he is helping me back up, and I'm just like, "This no way this is gonna fit." And so sure enough, get backing up, boom, hit the car behind me. I'm
Oh
like,
no.
are you kidding me? Like, you're supposed to be backing me up, making sure I don't hit the car. And then he hops in the car, he laughs, he's like, "Yeah, we won't fit." And I'm just like, but we started to play tennis on P days, and I think like in my journal I wrote like, "Man, everything's going great with Elder Harrison. Like, we're having so much fun. I think it's because we've been playing tennis together, and we had we started bonding that way." But he was a great teacher. I still keep in touch with him. Uh, you know, on Messenger, FaceTiming on Facebook. But he was amazing. He's awesome. He actually taught. So he knows like Russian. He knows a couple different languages. And so we would find, like, whenever we found someone that was German, or we would invite them like Tuesday nights at the building to teach English classes, and then tie in the gospel that way. So I thought that was very interesting.
Did he ever tell you how he learned those languages? Was it something in his family, or had he lived there?
I don't remember. I mean, he still does it today. Like, he travels a lot, especially before COVID. He would go to different countries. But last I talked to him, maybe a few months ago or so, he was in England.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's doing real good. He's one that you guys should have on for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you can get a hold of Elder Jensen, man, he'd be amazing when get to.
Yeah, he's been requested quite a few times, but
yeah,
I just I got to figure out how to get in touch with him.
yeah,
He's on my list for sure.
mm-hmm. Good, yeah, get him. I've tried Joseph McLean. Somehow he got a hold of him, called him. Actually, it was like he called his wife's. He got like his wife's number, and he told her to call him, and he did, and they talked for a little bit. So then, I asked for his number too, but he hasn't returned my call or messages or anything like that. So yeah, you got to get him.
Joseph, you need to send us an email. We would love to
Yeah.
have you on the podcast.
Right. Okay. So, my first P day was we drove to this football or soccer or football pitch, I guess. And anyway, that's where I met Elder McCullers. He's another one that you guys got to have on.
Yeah.
We're just kind of being goofy in this picture, but this is after playing some soccer, but this just kind of shows like Elder McCullers. He was so fun to be around. He was a zone leader here, I think. But he'd be a great one to have on. We had a lot of blast. We had a blast. Whenever he was around. But
Yeah,
I remember
I'd love to have Brett on the podcast. He was a greenie when I was a zone leader in Aberdeen before I went home.
Okay.
He started his mission in Stornoway, and we got to go up and visit him and his trainer, McKay Lynch. He's another one that I want to come on the podcast. But I'd love to have Brett come on. That'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to hear from him. And he gave me like a warning. So I was walking in the grass with no shoes on, and that's just something I did in Gilbert, Arizona. And he's like, you do not want to walk barefoot. Like there are needles everywhere. I'm like, what are you talking? Yeah, people do a lot of drugs here. I'm like, okay. So I never walked barefoot in the grass or at parks there anymore, which actually I do recall walking through parks and seeing needles on the ground, in the grass, on the sidewalks. Which is crazy, the drug problem there.
Understandable. I don't think I ever got that warning though. Jack, did you give me that warning? I don't think you did.
No. I wouldn't let you go barefoot though, Zach. The middle of winter.
That's true. It was.
So the first few weeks, I forget what holiday it was. January 26th. I forget what holiday it.
Burns night. Burns night.
Yeah. So I remember I had my first try with haggis. And I thought it smelled so bad, and Elder Jensen fed me a bite, and it just I almost threw up. Have you guys tried it before?
It's amazing. Come on, I'm sorry
I've had good and bad, but mostly good.
Yeah, most of mine were good experiences as well.
Okay, I did have it the following year, and it was okay. It definitely wasn't as bad as the first time, but it was okay. And this was forbidden when I was there, but did you guys ever get to try blood pudding?
That was forbidden for us too.
Yeah,
okay,
against the rules. Yep.
Yeah, understandable. Let's see here. I'm looking at my notes. Okay, I have a super embarrassing moment. So Elder Jensen, for my first lesson, we were teaching the restoration, and we had, I don't know if you know the McCormacks, but Thomas McCormack at this time, I think he was like 15, 16 years old. I think he was 16. And so I had the simple assignment to recite the first division. Easy enough, right? And I'm wearing James McCabe's big coat that he gave me. I'm warm, I'm cozy. Well, so Elder Jensen, he does an amazing job teaching the restoration. The spirit's there. It is so strong. We're teaching this family. And he turns to me, and it's my turn to recite the first division. And I completely botched it. I made 0 sense. I probably started reciting it backwards. And that's probably how confusing I made it. It was, and not only that, but I was already just sweating bullets. I was drenched in sweat. Like, when you're just drenched in sweat, like when sweat will drip down your nose, and it was that bad. It was so I got done, and I turned to Elder Jensen, and the look on his face was like, what is wrong with you? Like, you have, you have a lot to learn. And so, man, I was so embarrassed. I was like, I can't let that happen ever again. But he was great. He was patient, and man, I totally blew my assignment.
It's all right. We all have those moments at some point, I promise you.
Yeah.
Especially being too warm in somebody's house. Like, a lot of times you don't know how long you're going to be there. You don't quite get your coat off. You're just like sitting next to the radiator or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty bad.
Right.
So true. Oh, goodness.
But so Thomas McCormack, he was such an amazing youth in the ward. He went on teaches with us all the time, and I actually spoke to him a few weeks ago, and he reminded me why he was available so much, and it was because he got kicked out of school. So he had nothing else to do but spend time with the missionaries and help us on our joint teach member lessons,
Nice.
numbers. So I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks I got introduced to the investigator that we had scheduled for baptism, Isabel Lamb. And amazing woman. At that time, she was 60 years old. Sweetest lady you could meet. Elder, I believe it was Elder Phillips that met her. I never met Elder Phillips. I don't know who he is. I just know that Elder Phillips, I don't know his first name, but he, and I don't know who his companion was, but they found her and started teaching. And then Elder Jensen and Harrison came in, and then I came in, and she was my first baptism. And a couple things that I remember, and it's kind of hard to believe. There's a lot of people that I guess have a fear of water in Scotland, even if it's touching their face. And that was, that she had that problem. She had a very hard time, taking showers, and I was supposed to dunk her underwater.
Oh, wow.
So a few nights before the baptism, Elder Harrison and I went over and gave her a blessing, and then fast forward, and so Elder Harrison was driving, who was driving? I think Elder Jensen was driving, and Elder Harrison was giving directions. And Elder Harrison kept giving him wrong directions, and we ended up being 30 minutes late to our baptism.
Oh, no.
And the Bishop Roy, he was very upset with us. But anyway, I told Elder Jensen I had forgotten, a change of underwear, and so he laughed. And anyway, I didn't have a change of underwear after that baptism. But that baptism, she was as stiff as a board, putting her under. She was resisting me, and I looked at Elder Jensen. He's just like, just dunk her. So I tried, I tried my best, and because she was resisting me so much, it was like everything was in slow motion. And I just felt like, gosh, I feel like this doesn't look good. I feel like she thinks I'm going to drown her or something. And my mind's racing during this whole slow emotion process. And anyway, I got her under the water, and she went into a small panic. And after, trying to calm her down, she gave me a hug, and she said she was very grateful. And
You didn't have to redo it.
right, yeah, because she even said she even said, like, if you didn't do it right the first time, I wouldn't have been able to do it the second time. Like, it was a good thing you forced me under, and yeah, it was a good thing that happened. And
the
then
technique, John, is to just put your whole body on top of them, and there's no way that they're not going all the way under.
right, right. And then what's interesting, what's pretty cool, is a couple days later, we went to her home and visited her, and she had recalled a dream that she had, and her dream was that she was standing in a white dress. She wasn't getting married or anything, but she was standing in a white dress, and she said, that dream came true. And she said that she felt so at peace after her baptism. So really cool, amazing lady. A year later, she was sealed in the temple to her husband, who had died, I think 6 years before that. So that was really cool to hear.
That's awesome.
That she ended up going through the temple, getting sealed. And I still keep in touch with her, here and there on Facebook. We actually did like a FaceTime a couple months ago, and it was really good to see her.
She's still in the Lith ward then in Dundee?
Yeah. Actually, so yeah, she still keeps in touch with. She messaged me, Eileen Murray. Does that name ring a bell?
It sounds familiar. I can't put a face
Does
to
sound
it though.
familiar. Maybe somebody else has talked about her.
Eileen. Okay, yeah, Eileen Murray. She just messaged me last week. I guess she had passed away. June Topin. She keeps in touch with June Topin. Does that name ring a bell?
I think I think Bishop Tobin was the bishop when I was there.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but that name is familiar to me.
Okay. Yeah, I believe that sounds about right.
Awesome.
But okay, let's see. What do I? Okay, so yeah, I was with Elder Harrison for 6 weeks, and then my next companion was Elder Allen, Drew Allen. He's one that you got to get on here, from Utah, and he'd only been out there 6 weeks longer than me, I think. And at that time, yeah, it was Elder Waite and Elder McCullers that were our zone leaders too. But Elder Allen, great guy, very smart, mature. He knew his scriptures. I was very impressed with how much he knew. We ended up losing the car. I think someone got in a car accident, and they needed our car, and they took our car away. But I was actually pretty grateful for that, because I was able to talk to a lot more people, and we just had a lot more interesting experiences. Elder Allen and I, we ate a lot of curry, pretty much every day, it seemed like.
This
was on your own, by your own choice, or everyone was feeding you curry?
No, this is by our own choice. We would make our own. We would make our own curry.
Oh wow!
So we wouldn't just go out and buy it at a restaurant or fast food place. We would make it at home.
Holy cow!
Yeah. But Elder Allen and I, we got along great. We keep in touch. Past year or so, I've gone up to Utah and had breakfast, or had breakfast one time, and then another time dinner. And so it's always great to catch up with him. So yeah, he was a district leader, and so we got to see Elder Waite and Elder McCullers a lot. We ran. So we met this guy, and he gave us his address to go teach him. A week later, and we went to this high rise, and of course it was a false address. Shocker. But this lady opens the door, and all this smoke comes rushing out, and you could see down the hallway, just full of smoke, cigarette smoke. And so
That's different.
Yeah,
I thought the place was on fire. Goodness.
I've got a story about that. So in Glasgow. So I'll tell you about that later. But so very nice lady. Her name's Irene Finley, and she come back a week later, and so we did. And she actually ended up forgetting about the appointment a week later, but she welcomed us in. And the first lesson we taught her was the plan on salvation. She received it well. Our next visit, her son showed up, and he was a Jehovah's Witness, and he was drilling us with questions. And Elder Allen, he knew the answers to all this guy's questions. And I remember, and he was using scriptures and all that. And I remember looking at Irene, and I'm just we were both really impressed with how well he taught. So anyway, fast forward, and she would go to Spain every summer, and she would take empty suitcases with her and bring back full, her suitcases full of cigarettes. She just loved the ones from Spain. I don't know why. Maybe they're cheaper, taste better. I don't know. But she would bring home suitcases full. And
wow.
So we committed her, we taught her the word of wisdom, and we dumped out all of, any alcohol she had down the drain. And also, we asked her to give up her cigarettes, and any cigarettes that she had in the house. And we were blown away with how many cigarettes that she handed over to us. She handed over I don't know, 3 or 4. I can't remember how many big black bags of cigarettes.
Oh my goodness!
But
I was going to say, please let me have a picture. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Holy cow!
Look at those happy guys.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
There were a total of 3,400 cigarettes.
Dang.
Oh my gosh.
And then that's me right there. We thought, and then we thought how funny would it be? How people have when they have, millions of dollars, and they're letting it fly in the air and fall. And we thought it might be funny to do that with this, but we didn't with the cigarettes. No, we kept them in their pocket. Yeah, throw them up in the air, and I don't know, but so that was a really amazing experience, and man, I bet you that's a lot of money sitting there.
Yeah, definitely. Goodness.
So, but yeah, she gave up smoking, and got baptized. Let me see if I got a picture of her right here. And I think so. There's Elder Allen and I, and that's Irene Finley. And then I think he's a Clancy, I think. I want to say James Clancy. I could be wrong. Elder Allen, he needs to get on here and correct me if I'm wrong there, but here's another picture of.
As we're talking, Drew will be on the podcast the beginning of May.
Oh, sweet.
He's on our schedule.
Okay, awesome. Here's another picture of Drew and I at Jimmy Chung's. Did you guys ever go and eat there?
Way too often.
Yeah. Did you ever meet Brother Fonz?
That doesn't ring a bell. I don't remember.
Okay. Older guy. He was so old, like his speech, like you couldn't really understand what he was saying. But like, he was trying to be funny, and so we just laughed at whatever he said, and he loved it. he took us to Jimmy Chung's, maybe like, I don't know, once every few weeks or so. But he was a great guy. We had some good memories there at Jimmy Chung's. It's like an all-you-can-eat place. But yeah, we pigged out there. So yeah, had a great time with Elder Holland. And my next companion, let's see if I have anything else to show or to talk about from Elder Holland. Okay, so my next companion, so we were together, him and I were together for 3 months. My next companion was Elder Ehat, Timothy Ehat. He was the office elder. And so he was going to spend his last 6 weeks with me. And great guy. We worked hard. We approached this lady. She was carrying her groceries up some stairs, and we could tell that she was struggling. And so we went up and asked her to help, and she allowed us to help her carry her bags to her home. And we were talking about the church, and she was receiving the message well, and she became an investigator. And she wasn't 100% all the way there. Come to find out, this is actually when I learned what gypsies were. But the gypsies that I, drove by or had seen were like at campsites on the side of the road, kind of trailer parks.
Mm-hmm.
But she was living on her own at this place, and but I don't think she was there. She was there enough. The zone leaders, interviewed her, and she was independent. But I guess her apartment just smelled of rotten meat.
Oh, no.
I remember, like, I have these images of like her hands, her fingers having like raw meat on her hands, and like we never taught inside her home because it smelled so bad.
Oh, no.
So we'd always take her either to we'd go to a park or we'd go to the church building. But yeah, we never taught her inside the house. In fact, at one point, the Relief Society got involved and they helped clean up her place. June Copen, here's a story. After she was baptized, or maybe it was before she got baptized. So June Copen went to go pick her up to take her to church, and she was naked. She was going to go to church, but naked.
No way.
Unbelievable.
Good thing you sent a member.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Oh goodness.
So she helped her get her clothes on, and anyway, so yeah, she met with the zone leaders, and they decided that she was good to get baptized, and so yeah, that was Una Gina Brennan. Very sweet lady, nicest lady. But yeah, that's the story about her with Elder Ehat. And then he went home and finished his mission. And I think after that was my first, or maybe this happened before, but first interview with President Frederick. And I just remember, President Frederick, amazing, amazing man. And I always viewed him as my, he had attributes of my grandpa, my dad, and my football coach. And I just remember, like, basically we're out here to work, and we got a job to do. Follow the rules, be obedient, and put your head down and work. Forget yourself and go to work. So I really looked up to President Frederick, and he shared attributes of those three men in my life, and I looked up to him a lot. So Elder Holland came to the mission, and this happened. He actually came when Elder Allen and I were companions. Man, we met him up in Aberdeen. And man, he was such a powerful speaker. I remember Elder Allen and I were sitting on the end in aisle seat, and I looked at my notes, and a couple of the notes that I wrote down was Elder Holland was, basically talking loudly, saying, "Don't you ever fall away from the church. Don't you ever go less active. If you do, come to me and tell me why." And he and Spit, we were in, I forget who else mentions this on their podcast, but we were in the I think so. Yeah. He said it perfectly. We were in the splash zone, and I remember Spit landed on my arm, my cheek, my journal, and I even circled on my journal Elder Holland Spit, and he got I believe he got Elder Allen too. But so yeah, those are just a few of the memories with Elder Holland. He's one of my favorite apostles, and it was really great to see him. So my next companion was Elder Stephen Gardner, who you've got to have him on here too. And then we had a lot of fun. And a funny guy. Members loved him. We were only together for 6 weeks, but we had a lot of fun. Hard worker. So the members in Dundee, who I had a great time, meeting. I was there once again for 7.5 months, and so the Keoghs, huge family, great family. The Campbells, Mark Beale, Blair Anderson, the McCormacks, Brother Tasker, the Roys, the Brother Fawns, Brother Murray, and the Topins. And there was this recent convert, Mark. I can't remember his last name, but the sisters baptized him, Sister Price and Sister Cook. I got a picture of them at a district meeting. Sister Price and Sister Cook. I guess Sister Price, she's camera shy, and so she's looking down. Just at a district meeting there, but yeah, they baptized this guy, Mark. I can't remember his last name, but amazing. He was a mechanic. But yeah, amazing recent convert. The senior couples in that district was the Manwarings. Amazing people. I saw them a few weeks ago at the mission reunion. Amazing people. So 7.5 months had passed, and I was called to go to Paisley, be the district leader there, with Elder Bonin, and who you've had on. here. And he's a great guy. We had a lot of fun. We teased and messed with each other a lot. I remember our first. Oh yeah, he shared this story, so I'll share it too. I got off the train and I see Elder Bonin and the zone leaders, which at that time it was Elder Peckham and it could have been Elder Lee. It wasn't Elder. Yeah, let's just say it was Elder Lee. So yeah, I see them and I walk to them and we get walking and I'm looking over at Elder Bonin or whoever I'm talking to, and I'm carrying 2 bags behind me, and there's people walking everywhere, and I get nailed. I walk right into a post, waist high, and it bent me over, and they had a good laugh, and I embarrassed myself, and
Oh, goodness.
Welcome to the area.
Right. Welcome to the area. But we get to our flat, and we were whitewashing, and the flat was a complete mess. Like, I'm talking about bugs were crawling on the ground and on the furniture. And so we just grabbed a vacuum and broom, and we cleaned up the apartment half of that day. It was disgusting. I'm just glad they weren't bed bugs, because that'd be terrible and that'd be disgusting. But I mean, either way, they're bugs. Who
Says
knows?
the
I don't know.
exterminator.
Yeah, right. That's when I knew I wanted to be in pest control. No, but yeah, that was pretty disgusting. So we had a blast together. We would he would start it. He would turn, if I'm lying in bed, I forget what time bedtime was, 10:30, something like that. Lying in bed or whatever, and maybe he wasn't done brushing his teeth, and he'd flip the light on me, or like he'd grab my duvet or sheets and throw them off, and then we would go back and forth with that, and so we'd be lying in bed and he'd grab my sheet and he'd throw it out the door, or I try to grab his, and we were like tug of warring. Anyway, just fun, silly stuff. But we had a lot of fun. We goofed around a lot. Even silly stuff like one of us would have the map of the area, and we're trying to find shortcuts and stuff, and we would I don't know, we would just mess with each other, and it's not going to make sense, but you had to be there.
Inside jokes.
Yeah, we had a lot of inside jokes.
Andrew's listening to this, so definitely tell the inside joke for us that won't understand it, but he will.
Right. Yeah. No. So yeah, we would if we needed to make a right hand turn without telling the other person, we would just jet over and
cut him off.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
But in Paisley, that's where I discovered munchie boxes. And Elder Kane mentioned these.
Yes, he did.
And these munchie boxes, did you guys ever have any, or no? So yeah, just imagine this, 16-inch pizza box. It's got pizza, kebab meat, French fries, chicken and veg pakora, tub of sauce, a salad, to make you feel good, and doner meat. And man, it was just that stuff was so good. I also did you guys ever eat any hobnobs?
Why does that sound familiar? I don't remember.
So that's they're like it's like a graham cracker kind of thing, but like a biscuit. And
Oh
man,
yes, I know exactly what you're talking about now.
yeah, I'm sure they're sold here too, because America's got everything, but that's where I also discovered hobnobs. Me and Elder Bonin, and man, we love dunking those in milk. And anyway, but yeah, he was a hard worker. We had we had a lot of solid investigators, but none of them ended up getting baptized. We had some really close ones getting baptized or to get baptized, but they just didn't follow through. Let's see. Also, when I think of Elder Bonin, he's an intelligent guy. Like he has a very big vocabulary. So I was always really impressed with how intelligent he was. I remember every time I hear the word apparatus, I think of him. And one night, after walking in the rain all day, I would normally put my shoes like on the heater, but he turned on the oven and opened up the door, and he created this apparatus, and he put his shoes on top of the door of the oven, and so that they dry off from the heat that way. That was a great idea. No one else did that, but anyway, but yeah, we had a great time. Great elder.
I thought that was going to be your house on fire story.
Oh no. No,
Not in Glasgow yet. He's in Paisley.
I know.
Right. This could have happened in Paisley too. So I'll just tell the story right now because Glasgow and Paisley are so close together, and I went to Glasgow after this. Yeah, I don't know if I was with Elder Bonin or with the guy I trained, but we knocked on this door, and they opened up, and I kid you, like this black smoke just came rushing out. Almost, I felt like I was gonna be knocked down. It was so thick, and like after our eyes recovered, like I looked down the hallway, and it was like someone had a campfire in their living room.
Wait, who opened the door?
The
Somebody
homeowner.
dropped into?
It just the Lord. The Lord
Yeah.
opened the door.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Goodness.
So we couldn't stand the smoke any longer, and so we just kept it real short. Have a nice day. God loves you. It was, I don't know what was going on in there,
That's
but
crazy.
they were having like a campfire in their living room. It was nuts.
Only in Glasgow.
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah, maybe Glasgow.
Oh.
Let's see. So yeah, Elder Bone and I were together for 3 months, and then I was called, to train Elder Cummins from England. He's another great one that you got to have on, and great missionary, especially being fresh out. And I was, which I haven't talked about this yet, but like beginning of the mission, I feel like I started the mission during hammer time. Like I don't know what it was like before then. So like hammer time was all I knew.
Would you like us to give you a synopsis? It was the opposite of what was going on in hammer time. Oh. Sorry, carry on, John.
No. And that's what I hear. I pink ties and ties above the belt, but Yeah, no,
Here's a funny story, and I'll call out the missionary who did it. I remember going to a zone conference once, and Jared Lineker wore a sweater vest, and he had made a knot on his tie that was easily the size of one of the cookies that Sister Frederick, Sister Rains would give out. It was humongous. And we had no idea how he kept it under his collar. But we were just laughing so hard because it was something you would never wear out, like knocking doors or whatever. But he had done it specifically because it was his own conference. So that's probably why the tie thing got a little bit more strict after that, because fat knot ties when we were in the mission were all the rage. It was crazy.
Got it. Yeah. I do remember, like when I first started, like the first couple weeks, I do remember hearing there were missionaries that were doing, bad stuff that they shouldn't have been doing. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I totally get like hammer time. Like, let's correct all the, bad habits or, things that missionaries should be doing. So back to, training, I kind of felt like, or at least from what I remember being told, new missionaries, you got to be extra obedient, strict, kind of make sure they understand, they're not on vacation, they're here to work, they're on the Lord's time. And so, I don't know. I hope I wasn't too strict or too hard on him. I don't think I was. From what I remember, like we had a good time. He was a great teacher, and I just remember having a good time. We did find someone, and ended up baptizing her. Her name's Kelly McLaughlin. And I wasn't there for the baptism. I think it happened maybe a few weeks later, but the companion Elder Cummins had after me, I don't know his name, but there's that one. Other Cummins, that's Elder Cummins there.
Nice.
So great. So we had a great time. But like when you guys trained, what was it like? Did you have to be, extra, I don't know, strict or obedient, or what was it like for you guys to train?
I had a terrible trainee, so I had to be on him all the time.
Oh, that's right. You
waking him up in the morning.
Thanks, Jack. No, I mean, I remember when I got called to train, I trained Elder Marsh, if you knew Dustin Marsh. He came in, and we were pretty fast friends, but President Vreens at the time said, hey, you're training a new missionary. You need to be as obedient as you can be. You're showing him what a mission looks like and really setting the tone. And so ultimately it was kind of like, all right, tighten up things and make sure your shoes are shined. And, everything was kind of on point, which there were good and bad pieces to that for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree. Same here. So let's see here. So yeah, we were only together for 6 weeks, and then so the members in that ward, who I really enjoyed working with, the Kiers, the Obikis, the Caffels, the Stewarts, McManus, McKenny's, President Yates, McAnally's, McLaughlin's, the Roys, Mayers, and Hales. Any of you serve in Paisley at all or near?
I was in the Johnston ward, and you were probably there when the Johnston ward had been absorbed.
Yeah, after that, right?
Yeah,
the Johnson ward, they weren't happy with that.
No, I heard the story. Man, I can't believe that happened. But what are you gonna do?
Right. Yeah. Okay, so then I get called to Spring Boig in Glasgow, and Man, so Dundee, comparing Dundee was a nice place, but like getting into Glasgow and Spring Boyd, man, a lot of crazy stuff started to happen. That's actually, so my trainer Andrew Harrison, when he actually served in Spring Boyd too with Elder Black. He's from Ireland. I don't know his
Yeah.
first name.
Brian.
Oh yeah, okay. He'd be a good one to get on here too.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. So they were crossing this bridge, past or across a motorway, and they got attacked with like golf clubs, and they had to rush to the ER or whatever it's called there, to get stitched up.
Wow.
So like knowing that I'm going to that area, I knew I had to be extra careful. I was going, but my companion, Elder Arion Alushai. Had you heard of that name?
I have, yes.
You have.
Mm-hmm.
Who on here has talked about him?
Now you're pop quizzing me. I don't remember, but I have heard the name. Yes.
Okay, because he is someone I really want to track down and find. He is off the grid. So I'm not sure how much you remember about him, but he's from Albania, convert. His family disowned him for joining the church, and he. I don't know how much I should share, or because it's personal life, but he didn't want to go home because apparently, and I could be completely wrong, but this is from what I heard from him and other companions. But I guess he had like a death threat. If he went back home. Wow. And so he really tried to get into BYU, so that he wouldn't have to go home. And anyway, I lost contact with him shortly after the mission. But yeah, apparently his cousin was like in the Albanian mafia, and if I'm wrong, if someone knows the accurate story, please get on here and correct me. But I served with him for 7 months, so we got to know each other really well.
Oh, wow.
He was amazing. Yeah, he was one of my favorite companions, even though there was a language barrier and cultural differences. We got along great. We had a great time together. So I'll start from the beginning. Like the first night, I get there, and we're walking to our flat, and there's Mary Boyd and Lauren Kennedy, and they are youth in the ward. And they have friends there, and we're trying to see if, hey, let's bring your friends to church and all that stuff, because Lauren had converted Mary Boyd. So Mary Boyd had recently gotten baptized. So anyway, we get talking, and shortly after, they go in this panic, and they're hiding behind these parked cars, and like we do too. And next thing you know, there's this white van that passes by, and after it passed, like they tell us what's been going on. Apparently, there were these bad people driving around in vans, and they would find people alone and would throw them in the van, pull up next to them, kidnap them, throw them in the van. And that's when they would do, the Glasgow smiles and stuff, crazy stuff like that. So wow. Just kind of crazy stuff. And I was seeing a lot more of the Glasgow smiles, and, we'd be walking down the sidewalk, and these random Neds would come up and lift up their shirts and show knife wounds and stuff. And some crazy stuff. Since I'm talking about crazy stuff, I'll tell you another story. So Elder Lucia and I were heading back from a zone conference, and we get to a bus stop, and so it's me, Lucia, and there's a lady next to me. She's on her phone, and then a couple more people, and we start hearing a lot of commotion across the street. And there's this tall guy and there's a short guy. They're in each other's faces, yelling. And next thing I hear is someone yells out. He reaches in his pocket, and they yell, "He's got a knife!" And I'm just like, "No way! Like you're kidding me!" And so, oh no, I'm sorry, I'm totally skipping something. So the tall guy decks the short guy and takes off running. So the short guy reaches in his pocket. He's got a knife. And so he's chasing him now. And then he shanks him in the back. The tall guy falls. And he reaches down and wipes off the blood on the grass. And he looks over at us. And my guess is he sees the lady on the phone. He's thinking she's calling the cops. And he yells, "Hey!" And he runs over to us. And he sticks the knife in our faces and says, if you ever call the cops, we come find you, yada yada yada." And by all of a sudden, all of these people, all of his buddies come out of their homes, and it's like this huge gang. He's like walking towards it. Man, we were terrified.
Yeah.
The bus comes, we hop on the bus. We just can't believe what just happened. We were on this spiritual high from his own conference, and just experiencing that, man, we were just terrified. And then an ambulance rushed by, and that was wild.
Oh my gosh.
Golly.
A knife fight in Glasgow.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
I do have another story of so spring break again, and you're always told don't ever walk through parks at night. Okay, but we do anyway. So there was this investigator that we were teaching, and I remember sitting in his living room, and above me on his wall he had hung a couple of samurai swords. And so a couple of days go by, and find out that one night he was walking through a park with his girlfriend, and he was attacked. This guy had ran up behind him laughing with a meat axe, and he came up behind him and hit him right in the face and ran off laughing. So his buddies got word of it, and apparently used those samurai swords, found the guy that did that to him, and killed him. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Wow.
That was nuts.
Goodness.
Crazy.
Those are the stories you don't want to hear when you live in Glasgow.
Yeah.
It's just like, please don't tell me that.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to be so much more cautious, and obviously you're cautious enough as it is, but oh my goodness. Crazy.
I feel like Spring Boyd was closed when we were there.
Was it?
It wasn't. I served there for 2 weeks.
You served there?
Yeah. The ward was there, and it was like the zone leaders area. So I mean,
okay.
I think eventually they had missionaries that covered the Spring Boyd. It was a branch, right? Am I wrong in saying that?
Yeah. It was a branch.
Spring Boyd branch, and then I think they also attended Julian Avenue as well. So
okay. Did they have their church building there, or were they meeting in a community center?
Community center.
Okay, yeah. Same here. And they had like a AAA meeting.
Yes.
in like one of the rooms down the hall,
Uh-huh.
same at the same time.
How convenient.
Yeah. Um,
Wow.
but like that ward, the members in that ward were amazing. So yeah, I was there for 7.5 months, and I got to know everyone there very well. A couple people that let's see, let's make sure I went through all the crazy stories. Did you ever remember the Easter house, Easter house?
Oh yeah, the stories of Easter House.
Yeah, that was like, don't go there, period. And I remember we had to drive, we had to bust through there. One point, it just looked so sketchy, and anyway, we were in and out real quick. But yeah, let's make sure I don't miss any of the crazy stories. Okay. Let's see. So Elder Lushai, like he was also known as like he was a piano wizard. You give him a piano and he'll go to town. Like he was amazing. Anyone that served, around him or with him, like knows how good he is on the piano, especially like on P days. Whenever we'd get together as like a district or zone at a church building, he'd be on the piano going to town. He was amazing at it. Let's see here. Also, okay. We actually met a Pakistan family, the Masih family. They were so we knocked on their door and they let us in, and all of a sudden, like all these kids just come funneling out. They're a family of 8, so they've got 6 kids. 6 of them were of baptism age, and the dad was a chef. Only the kids spoke English, so when we would teach, the kids would translate for us to their parents.
Wow.
So that was
Interesting.
pretty cool, pretty fun. Their kids were amazing. They were so fun, so nice, and actually one of the girls, I think she was 13. She knew Mary and Lauren from high school, so that helped us a lot. They were already befriending her, and she knew them at that church, so that was very helpful. But so yeah, we ended up baptizing 6 people in that family. And then the next person, Elder Lucia and I ended up baptizing, Angela. And very nice lady. The only thing, man, I just felt so bad. She was just surrounded by terrible, terrible influences. It was just real sad, but we helped her get baptized, and kind of lost touch with her. I remember like either her brother or friend or someone that was there often, he like got in our faces and threatened us. Like he beat the crap out of us if we ever came back.
Oh my
But
gosh.
that didn't stop us. We still went back.
Goodness.
I know. Here in Elder Kane get headbutted, get a Glasgow kiss, just on the sidewalk. It makes me feel very lucky. Of all these times, I didn't get injured.
Right.
This one time, Elder Lucia and I, we were waiting at a bus stop, and these punk Neds, I don't know what they're. I think they're called bookies there, and where you go and place bets.
Right.
Soccer games, horse races, stuff like that, and they hand out these little pens. And so I just remember Elder Lucia and I, we were getting on this bus, and these Neds, several Neds, had these pens, and they were chucking them at us. And I felt like Samuel the Lamanite on the wall. They didn't hit us at all. They were whizzing by our head, hitting the bus driver. they hit the bus driver, and the bus driver was yelling at them. But yeah, these pens were just whizzing by us, and I just felt like, wow, we're protected. And we're just like Sand of the Lamanite. All these arrows or all these pens were flying past us. Anyway, even though they probably wouldn't hurt, they wouldn't hurt, but still, it was kind of an interesting, crazy, experience.
Wow.
But we also ran into this Chinese man, Ping, who I felt like I had a good amount of referrals for the Chinatown elders. Whenever I would see, Chinese person, or I would approach them and start talking to them about the plan of salvation. I just felt like they were more receptive to that lesson. Anyway, so I every once in a while I'd call the Chinatown elders and I'd give them, Elder Ho was the Chinatown elder then, and I'd give them referrals. And so Ping, he got baptized, and then I found out 2 of his friends got baptized as well. And then so Elder Lushai, 7 months was up. He actually extended his mission as well, another 4 weeks, once again, because he didn't want to go home. He tried really hard to get into BYU, which he was like, I guess from what I understand, he missed passing a test by like 1 or 2 points. He was devastated. But anyway, I really hope he's doing well. Like, I would love to get in touch with him. We had such a great time. I learned a lot from him. So hopefully someone can get hold of him. And then, also,
I'm curious. Is this him by chance?
No.
Okay. I'm trying.
That's not him. I wish. Man, you got my hopes up.
I was hopeful too, because it's someone from Albania, same name.
I can't find him anywhere. If anything, there's a connection somewhere. He's involved in music.
Okay.
So I don't know if there's a way we can search, Arion Alushai, piano player.
You think he's a professional pianist, probably of some sort?
Oh, hands down, yes. Like, no doubt, professional. Every meaning of the word. He was so good.
Okay.
But so yeah, he left, and then Elder Harper, Andy Harper. Oh, also with Elder Lucia, flat got broken into, but nothing got stolen. At least I don't think anything got stolen. But yeah, flat got broken into. So a lot of fun, crazy stuff happened in Glasgow. And so Elder Andy Harper, amazing companion, amazing guy. We worked hard again. With all my companions, we worked hard. Like, we left it all on the field. We left it, we gave it our all. But yeah, Andy Harper, great guy. We only had 6 weeks together. But the members in that ward, once again, like I mentioned, amazing. Bishop Pataranga, Brother Muir, Samantha Bowden, Laura Fleming, Grace Adams, Brother and Sister Goldberg. Did you ever meet them?
I was only there for 2 weeks, so I didn't get to know very many people. Otherwise, I would probably have gotten to know them for sure.
Okay. Amazing family. And then Sister M, Sister McCulloch. She was also well known among the missionaries. The Dyers, Jacqueline Kennedy, Ross McNally was the ward mission leader, and then Mary Boyd and Lauren Kennedy. So the next area I served in was East Kilbride, and served there with McKay Livingston from Utah. He had been out, I think, maybe 3 months. He was also, we had a blast together. We had a lot in common. We played tennis together on P days, and we were super competitive. So competitive that whenever we were like walking to an appointment or to a bus stop or whatever, we would race each other to the corner, like dead sprint. Like we would take off running, racing each other, trying to beat one of the other. And anyway, sounds crazy, but yeah, we just had fun racing each other.
Interesting.
And he would always try to scare me. He always got a kick. Like, I don't know, if I was getting out of, walking out of the bathroom, he'd be around the corner and he'd scare me. He did get me a few times. He recorded it too on his camera of scaring me. Speaking of cameras, he reminded me, I met up with him for lunch about 6 months ago, and he reminded me that he deleted about 90% of the pictures on my camera.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, I do remember being devastated because like at this point I'm like, I don't know, 15 months into the mission and all my pictures are gone, which like, yeah, I don't have a lot of pictures from before Livingston. So he reminded me of that. And so if anyone listening has pictures from when we served, I'd like them, so I could have more memories.
Jeez.
I know, but anyway, we had a blast. Great guy. We got along really well. We have a lot in common. We baptized a lady, Charlene Coyle, I ended up training again, Elder Salza. I can't remember his first name. We're friends on Facebook, but Elder Salza, he's from Spain. But yeah, he ended up baptizing, and I got a picture of that. I don't think I do. But he was great. Again, being a trainer, I was being extra, extra strict, or making sure we followed the rules to exactness. And from what I remember, sometimes he didn't receive that well. But overall, I think we had a great time together, and learned a lot from each other. But yeah, and the members in that ward, Graham and Jean Buchanan, the Campbells, Duke and Bill, Leo and Stephanie, which Leo Humphreys, he was a missionary, and he ended up marrying a convert, Stephanie.
We heard that story.
Oh yeah.
Oh goodness.
I don't know the full story. I don't
try to remember whose episode it was that told that story. Anyway, go through the missionaries in your era, and I'm sure you'll hear that story.
Okay. Yeah. I will. Jackie Lang, the MacArthurs, the McNallys, Monroes, the Spears. They were all great. And then I think I'm at my last 6 weeks, and President Griffiths called me to be zone leader with Elder Talbot in Dundee in the Bingham ward. And I was replacing Drew Allen at this time because he had gone home. And in Talbot, once again, we both came out together, and I felt like we had a lot in common. We had a great time. Worked hard, and the lady that we found, Mitchell Sinclair, she ended up getting baptized after we had gone home. I can't remember which elders baptized her, but and then also the sisters. I can't remember which sisters were So they found a lady called Anne McGew. She is amazing. She's helped out the missionaries and probably still does. Goes on, teaches and feeds them and stuff. But Talbot ended up baptizing her. And here's I couldn't find. I have the picture on Facebook, and so I printed it off so I can share it here. Very sweet lady. Very sweet lady. And also, here's a picture of, this is like one of our last district meetings. I can't remember who this is, but there's Elder Lovell. I served around him a lot. And then myself, and then Kevin Anthony. He's one that you got to get on here. And then Talbot. All those guys you gotta get on there, or on here.
Awesome.
But let's see here. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up my story.
I love it. Man, what a journey. So many amazing things that you shared, John. Thank you so much. Do you have any specific memories of the Fredericks? I mean, you had them for like what, 85, maybe 80% of your mission about that? Maybe the Fredericks, and if you had any specific memories of the Griffiths as well.
Yeah. So yeah, like I mentioned, I always, highly respected him because he had like, similar characteristics as my dad, my grandpa, and my football coach. And he carried the spirit with him so well. And he'd always share his videos of blowing up mountains. And I thought that was, so cool. But I do wish, and I envy the elders or missionaries that served around him a lot. Because I wish I did. Like whenever I was around him, I knew he was a busy man, and I didn't want to, or I didn't need. I felt like I didn't need to tell him any problems or anything else, going on, because I didn't want to take up his time, because I just figured there were other things that he needed to do or take care of. So, but I do wish I spent more time around him, because he's such a great guy to learn from.
Yeah, for sure. I've shared this on other podcasts. If you didn't serve around the mission president, it was because he trusted you and didn't feel like he had to keep an eye on you,
Right.
And, there's positives and negatives to that. I mean, obviously it's nice to be around them and to spend more time getting to know them on a different level, but nonetheless, it was nice to know that you could be out serving and not have the mission president, or, I mean, maybe they did it in hammer time where the APs or the zone leaders were keeping track of you more often than not. But, I felt that there was a level of trust in me to just go and do the task at hand. And,
right.
And sometimes, I've reflected back on that. That's okay with me. So,
yeah, absolutely. It's a good way to think about it. And yeah, I agree with that. And the Griffiths were great too. Like I loved them too. Learned a lot from them. And they did like a mini mission reunion in August last year, and I went to that, and it was great to visit with them. And so yeah, they're great people. I just didn't get to spend a whole lot of time with them, or he just wasn't my mission president, for very long. But they were great. They were amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, John, we appreciate you taking time to speak with us tonight before we let you get to bed, before you have an early wake-up call. Is there any other missionaries besides those you've already called out? I mean, you've got a great list of people that we'd love to have on the podcast in the future. Was there anyone else that comes to mind that you might want to specifically bring to the attention of those listening?
Yeah, sure. So other than my companions that I served with, so Justin Van Leuven, did I say it right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, funny guy. Same with Demeron Ashton. Like those two, at one point, they were my zone leaders, and they were a blast. Like those are some funny guys. Stetson Talbot, Tyson Bear. Tyson Bear, once again, I had a lot of fun with him too. Same with Sean Waite. Brett McCullers, mentioned him. Jonathan Gardner, he's from Arizona. Stephen Gardner. Oh, wait, he was my companion. So yeah, you already got him down.
Yeah.
Justin Whitehead, and then Kevin Anthony. I'd like to hear from all those guys.
Okay, that's awesome. Jotting them all down. Well, again, we appreciate you taking time and coming spending a little bit of your precious time talking about the S.E.M. We love you as our brother in Scotland, and know that we serve similar areas. We probably cross paths with many of the same people, and there's nothing better. Jack and I have talked about this often. There's nothing better than seeing what happened beyond us in the mission, just because it's really unique to see how the mission progressed itself and changed and evolved and did so many things while we were no longer involved there. So thank you for sharing that. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I forgot to share a funny story. And share it at the very beginning. But so I won't say any names, but one of my companions, he went on a water diet because we were eating a lot of takeout, curries, munchie boxes, stuff like that. So he wanted to lose some weight. At this point he had gained 25 pounds. So so he went on this water diet, and it was like day 2. We get off the bus. We're far away from the apartment, and he's like, "Oh no, Elder, I gotta pee." And the nearest place was a hospital. And the nearest public place is a hospital. So we get speed walking there, and I'm like 10 steps ahead of him. I got really fast at speed walking, by the way. So anyway, I hear this, "Oh no, Elder." And I turn around, and he's lifting up his pant leg, and it's just downpouring tea out of his pant leg. And I'm just on the ground laughing. And so we ended up having to call the zone leaders to come pick us up. And they just couldn't believe it. They were laughing their heads off, and it was a funny time. I promised him I wouldn't say his name. So I won't. So.
You promised him.
Yeah.
He swore you to a blood oath. That's hilarious.
Yeah,
oh my goodness. We'll figure out who it was.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I appreciate you taking the time. You guys are great for doing all this. It's been amazing to, go back on memory lane and reminisce, have all, feelings and thoughts come back to mind. And so I appreciate you guys putting in all the hard work and meeting with everyone. So I appreciate you guys.
No, it's definitely our pleasure, John. Thank you so much for participating, because not everyone is a participant. So thank you for making this possible. We really appreciate it. So
yeah.
we will say goodnight. Cheerio, mate.
Okay.
We'll certainly talk more soon.
Okay. Have a good night.
All right. See you, John.
Bye.